Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I'm excited to share with you a first look at the new Spanish mechanized infantry division, Guzman El Bueno. This is a new division available in the Southern Flank Nemesis DLC coming soon. Let's jump on in. Just to note, what you see today is a work in progress and therefore subject to change. I'm going to go through all of the units and we'll put together a quick deck. So starting here in the logistics tab, we have ourselves a Huey supply helicopter for 35 points. There's 8 on a card, 750 supply, 6 health. They're not great, but in a pinch it could be useful if you have enough cover to let them land. Then we have the Pegaso, which is a reasonably reliable 1000 supply truck. So 40 points, you get 6 on a card, 1000 supply, 90 km/h road speed, 50 km/h off-road. These sorts of units where they have fast on-road speed and slow off-road speed, you just want to keep them like near roads generally and then drive units to them rather than having the supply go deep. So that way they can get back to like a fob or like a supply point nice and quick rather than wasting their time going miles off-road. Then we have the ABAS or the C3464. This is actually a pretty nice big supply truck. For 80 points you have 2 on a card, which is not very much, but you get 3000 supply per truck, which is a lot. And you have 100 km/h on-road speed and 85 km/h off-road speed. So you're going to be able to use this a lot more effectively off-road, which is cool. Although you won't want to have it too close to the front because it's going to be quite a valuable target to kill at 3000 supply. It's also not really got any armor, so it will die pretty quick. Then we have ourselves a command helicopter. Command helicopters have limited use. They're useful for maybe backcapping early on, especially on like a very deep map, but otherwise, yeah, you're not going to want to have these at the front capturing a sector because they get spotted very quickly, and in this case it doesn't have any ECM, it's got low health and so on and so forth. Then we have the Santana Mundo, which is a decent fast Jeep, 100 km/h off-road speed, 90 km/h off-road, sorry. And then 80 points, you get 3 on a card. Like the availability here is really nice and just a good fast way of capturing sectors. There's also the BMR PC, which is another nice command vehicle. 100 points, you get some armor, you get 8 health, 100 km/h on-road speed and 85 km/h off-road again. Get a 50 cal to help defend itself. You got smoke as well. Yeah, it is pretty nice. You're just lacking availability compared to the Jeep. And then there is the option to bring in the supply point. All right, let's move on to the infantry tab. So in the infantry tab, we have 2 cards of MG42 machine guns, 15 points apiece. So you can have a lot of these, although I believe they did get nerfed or will get nerfed. Then we've got the Lag 40, which is a grenade launcher. There is 2 cards of these, 6 on a card. They can be brought in with the Jeep, but also the M113 with a grenade launcher on it, which I think is personally a very nice combination. And there's also the BMR as well, which is much faster and also still has the grenade launcher on it. So again, a nice combination. Yeah, big fan of this combo, just able to lay down a lot of fire support at range against enemy infantry. Then we have the C20, which is the AA piece. This is a decent fire support unit. I believe it can also go in buildings, unlike its AA counterpart. So yeah, that's one thing that's pretty interesting about this. And it is very strong. You can bring it in with the Jeep, which is nice and fast. Like these Santanas are all 90 km/h off-road, which is really nice. So you'd always want to bring that over the Pegaso, even though they have less health. Generally, the health isn't so much of an issue when it comes to just transports you're trying to get to the front line, unless you're like pushing directly into the enemy, but these are like support weapons, so you're going to be dropping them a bit further back. Then we have the military police, so 4-man squad, You get that military police and security trait. You've got the Santana as an option for your military police vehicle. But there's also another one now, the Seata, which is cool. Look at that thing. Another interesting vehicle to add. And yeah, they cost the same amount. The Seata is 6 health. Santana is 4 health. The Seata is slightly slower on road. You'd probably want the one with a bit more health, especially if you're going to have it follow tanks and stuff to provide that military police trait. Then we have the Zapadore. These guys are your engineers. So this is the engineer leader, 6-man squad. Unfortunately, no smoke, really kind of sucks. But 40.6 men is okay. Then we've got the Zapadore in the BMR. So these are an 8-man squad, 7 submachine guns, and a machine gun with the satchel and shock trait. They can come in both the BMR PP and the BMR PPBCZ, which is like an engineer version with the sort of plow on the front there. Interesting. Does get the extra front armor because of that. So for 30 points, this is a pretty nice transport. Then we have the Zapadore with the 9 strength. It's all submachine guns and the satchel charge. Probably a nicer option, but they have worse transports. So Pegaso would be fine if you're like using it in towns, because the 90 kilometers per hour on-road speed is going to be enough. Otherwise, you probably want to use the Toa for off-road. And you get that armor, you get the 50 cal, and it's only 20 points. So pretty cheap engineer combination. Then we have the Zapadore with the M65, which is a 15 penetration heat launcher with 675 meter range. 55% accuracy is actually not bad. So yeah, this is actually not a terrible squad either for engaging at close range, and then also having the AT capability. You could mix one of these with the other one, just have one of each, and that would be a really nice combination. This one can get the M113 with the extra front armor due to the bulldozer. So yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, that's not, sorry, earlier I called this a plow. It's not a plow, it's a bulldozer. Because a plow would have the point. But either way, 2 health on the front, or sorry, 2 armor on the front is very nice. Then we got the Fusileros. These guys are much better than the engineer leader for 6 strength, because they have that smoke grenade. I really, really value the smoke grenade on these leader units. It's very nice to have. Just if they get caught out, they can block line of sight and run away. Then we've got the Fusileros with the rifles and a machine gun for 40 points. These kinds of squads that just don't have any sort of AT, I struggle to find value in. But yeah, the grenade launcher here could be useful on that transport. Then we've got the same squad with an extra man, and that man is carrying an M65. They've switched out the weapons a little bit, so instead of getting 2 machine guns, you're getting only 1 machine gun, but you're getting 9 rifles. So this squad I think is overall a decent amount better. M13 is your transport, or the Pegaso. And then there's the Fusileros with the C90. So 11-man squad with the C90. The C90 is a decent AT weapon, 18 penetration, 65% accuracy, 675 meter range. Yeah, not too bad. Then we got the Santana with the M40 recoilless on it, 40 points, 8 on a card. The M40 is actually a reasonably good recoilless, so worth considering, especially considering you have so many points you can put in this tab. Then we got the Fusileros with the BMRs. So again, another nice leader here. 8 strength leader with smoke. That's even better than the other one. And it can come in with the BMR, which is a faster transport. Huge. Then we've got the Fusileros coming in, the BMRs, with the C90, which is very nice indeed. So you've got an 18 pen, 65% accurate AT launcher with a decent infantry squad coming in very fast transports. This is beautiful. Very nice indeed. And then we've got the M40 recoilless on its own. There's M1 Milans, which can come in with M113s with Milans and also the BMR with a Milan on it. So more nice transport options. Milan 2, of course, with the same transport options and an ITO option as well. ITO does get that extra range, so that's pretty nice. It's also got that extra accuracy, but less penetration than the Milan 2. But I do like the ITO, for sure. Alright, moving on to the artillery tab. We have ourselves some mortars, so the 81mm mortar and the 120mm mortar. Hopefully both of these will be improved by the upcoming artillery rework. I'm not sure how much we're allowed to say about it, but yeah. There'll be like a lower arc of fire, we know that much, right? So hopefully these things will be a bit more effective and more useful rather than just using them for smoke, which is why you would probably bring them in. But if you're going to use mortars for smoke, you probably use like an armored transport like this, the M113 and the BMR. There's also the M113 with a 120. So these are both 81 mils. If you're going to use one, use the faster one, of course. You want to shoot and scoot, and then the 120 in the M13 is a nice choice for just chipping enemy infantry. And then we've got the 105, which it looks cool. I'm not sure how effective that's going to be, but yeah, cool to have a towed gun there. Interesting how good it might be at sort of direct fire for 65 points, because it does have penetration. It's got 9 pen, 1,925 meter range, obviously 20% accuracy. Like the AP variant here sucks, but I've never really tried to use these artillery guns as direct fire support weapons. That could be interesting. Regardless, we got 122, and that's got a very decent range of 25 kilometers. Oh, it's an A19. Interesting. Isn't this like an old Russian gun? Yeah, it says Russo 31. Yeah, so I guess it's a Russian gun. It's probably from like the Spanish Civil War, I would guess. That's really interesting. Then we've got the 155 there. So the M114. Big old American gun, I think that is. And then, yeah, we've got like the long tom as well. Interesting. Very interesting, the M15. This is going to do a nice amount of damage. I mean, 4.9 damage is huge at 18 kilometers, so this is a really good choice for your long-range artillery. And there's the M108, little stubby boy. These aren't so great because of their lack of range. They're pretty big dispersion, so not going to be your first choice. But you do have access to the M109 A1B, which is going to give you that extra bit of range. It'd be nice if they could fix up these insignias so that maybe they have their own insignia on their artillery. But regardless, very cool. And I guess actually, now I mentioned that, maybe this would still belong to the first brunette, even if it was supporting this division, technically, right? Regardless, yeah, these are reliable. They're in a lot of divisions, but this one has a lot more damage. And finally, we got the L10D3, which is a 300mm rocket launcher, but it only has 10 rockets. It's got 17 kilometer per hour, or 17 kilometer range, 3 HE damage per shot. This would be an interesting unit to use at like very short range, I think, to make sure those rockets really hit the mark. You could probably delete a few infantry units with those. 235 points though is quite expensive for a unit that will die if it's sneezed on. Yeah, it's tough. Alright, moving on to the tank tab. Santana with Milan 2. Nice, actually, really nice. They have good stealth, so that's really important. They're really fast, off-road as well. 24 pen, 2,450 meter range. Yeah, I like that option. There's 3 cars of those as well. So if you look at something like this M113 with the tow launcher, it's only got mediocre stealth. So as soon as this fires, it gets spotted and dies. Whereas this can fire one, and if there's no recon, it won't get spotted. And then until it fires a second one, and then it will be spotted. So that can make a huge difference. Particularly if you're using these divisions for like skirmish against AI, again that makes even more of a difference. But in multiplayer, if you catch out the enemy without recon, these HGMs can do a lot of damage from the Santana, whereas these will just get killed by tanks like in one shot after they fire. And then we have the TOW 2 on the PMR, which is actually a nice HGM. You have to make sure you utilize the range though, because the good thing about this is, I guess it's the same here, but you have smoke, and smoke is super important for HGMs like this because if they do fire and they are spotted, you can kind of have a little bit of a chance to smoke yourself off if you feel like you're going to get return fire. So yeah, otherwise if you fire first against other HGM vehicles, you should hit first. For the most part, it obviously depends on the missile that you're firing, because something like a Bastion missile will travel faster than a TOW, so you will probably still lose in those situations. But 25 pen, 2,625 meter range, 65% accuracy. Then there's some M47s. So these are 9 front armor, 17 pen, 1,925 meter range. Pretty cheap sort of support unit for helping deal with infantry, but also getting some snipes in early on. I mean, 17 pen is decent, to be honest, for an 85 point unit. And then there's M48s. So we've got the 17 pen again here, but you've got extra range. So 2,275 meter range, 55% accuracy versus 1,925 meter range of 50% accuracy. Like, the extra range there is pretty huge. You also get more armor. So 10 front armor, probably making a decent difference against HGMs and other tanks and such. And you're paying what, extra like 20 points for the leader variants with a free 1 vet. Okay. Yeah, the M48s here will certainly be useful. Then we've got the Recon. So Theodore, these guys are your snipers. They have the sniper trait. When units are stationary, they get extra level of stealth, which is nice. And they get the damage boost and accuracy bonus when they're not moving. I guess they get the extra level of stealth like even when they're moving, by the sounds of that, but I don't think that's the case. I don't know. Regardless, yeah, snipers are useful in certain situations where they're not going to be bumping into combat units. Then there's a 4-man recon team for 20 points. They don't come with a recon vehicle, otherwise these would be an interesting choice for when you need to like spread out recon quite a lot. There's the Santana Rasura. This is an exceptional optics Jeep. I've made good use of these in the past with Brunette, so I think it's a reasonable vehicle. It's very cheap, good recon. Then there's also the Telioka. This is another interesting vehicle. I really like these kinds of SIGINT vehicles. I think they're really fun to use in team games. And I made a lot of use out of the Russian one with like the spinny radar on top. Yeah, because it's SIGINT, basically it has like a circle. If there's any enemy units inside that circle, the circle turns blue, and you know that there's enemies there, basically. If you can see both circles, then there's nothing there. If the outside circle turns blue, then there's something on the outside circle, and then once it gets to the inside circle turns blue, I think. Regardless, yeah, nice to have. Really nice to have, especially in team games. And then we got the Recon helicopter, 35 points. It's alright, it will get shot down one shot by basically any missile, but 35 points. I guess you can't really go wrong. Just keep it out of harm's way. Then we got the Exploradore. These guys are a 9-man squad with an M65 with recon capability, so not terrible. 50 cal M113 with some good optics, or the helicopter as an option there. But you're probably going to be going for the Jeanette most of the time, just because they have that better launcher. It does make a difference, a big difference. 18 pen versus 15 pen. You get that extra 10% accuracy as well. You get a BMR that's faster and also still has the good optics. So yeah, really solid recon unit. And there's also an M47 with good optics. Could be useful for infantry support. Yeah. Recon tanks are always something that really are overperformers, because having their own optics allows them to find and kill targets very nicely. The M47 in this case might lack a bit of firepower to do that, but still an interesting choice. Then there's the VEC, which gets the 2 front armor, but has the Bushmaster autocannon. These things are very nice because they're super fast, and yeah, they can cause havoc like the Lavs were. And then we have Guerrilleros. Guerrilleros. Something like that. I'm probably butchering the Spanish names, I apologize. Regardless, a very good optic infantry squad, which is going to do a decent amount of damage against enemy infantry at close range, but obviously doesn't have any AT. So yeah, a pretty cool special forces squad for the Spanish for sure. Shock trait, special forces trait. Transports, a little lackluster. The truck and the Puma there. Yeah. Alright, let's move on to the anti-air. So the 20mm in the anti-air tab, 25 points. You get the Santana and the Pegaso. There's also the Batubo, which is a twin version, so double 20mm. For an extra 10 points. You probably want to always go for the twin version, generally speaking, unless we're looking at vet, in which case yeah, it doesn't make much of a difference. I would always go for the twin version. Both sound cool in game, but that's about it. Then we've got the truck versions of both the single and twin 20mm, and then there's the iHawk. iHawk, pretty decent AA, and there's 2 cards of them here, so you could probably up-vet them, put a leader nearby, give them that 2 vet, and then you're looking at 65% accuracy with a 9 HE warhead, which is pretty nice and can also crit kill. So yeah, good stuff. The AA tab, you know, would be terrible without the iHawk. It's somewhat saved by the iHawk, although the iHawk is extremely valuable, so make sure you're moving it after it fires. And we got the helicopters, so a Huey with miniguns and Hydra rockets. Nice support, for sure. I love this like big old drum of minigun ammo. Very cool. Yeah, not sure how useful it's actually going to be, because it's going to have to get pretty close to use those miniguns, and you're not really going to want to spend 60 points just to use the Hydra rockets. So yeah, maybe in towns or like cities where you can use the high rises as blockers, you could get the miniguns on target and start ripping through infantry, but otherwise not the most reliable helicopter to use. Then we've got our air tab, which is French aircraft. So we got the Mirage 5, which is 70mm rocket boy for 120 points. Not sure how much the rocket aircraft have stuck in the meta for 1v1s, but you barely see them used in team games because they always have to go deep, right, into the enemy line, and then they end up getting shot down. But this has 10% ECM, 8 health, it's very fast, so maybe it can get away with it. Then we got Mirage 1s. Okay, so C14, it comes with 2 330 kilogram cluster bombs, 13 penetration. That's quite a lot, right? It feels like a lot. Is that gonna just one bang stuff? Maybe. I'll have to double check that. But we've also got a 1,000 kilogram bombs, 240 points, 1,000 kilogram bombs, 14.5 HE. Is that like the biggest bomb we've got in the game so far? That seems like very big bomb. Okay, and usually we get like 512 kilogram, not 1,000 kilogram. That's crazy. And then we've got the HE cluster variant. So 4 227 kilogram bombs and 2 330 clusters. Interesting. I don't know if that's worth 240 points, because if you're paying like 175 for just the clusters, those 4 227 kilogram bombs, I don't think are going to do like a crazy amount of damage on their own. Say if you were to use this against infantry instead. And then we got Mirages, so 195 points. The first one has the AIM-9, so they're both the same. Both 30% ECM, both have twin cannons, both have AIM-9Ps, but the missile changes. So one has R530s, which are fire and forget, 7,775 meter range missiles. So that's very nice, but they only have 40% accuracy. You can take a little bit of extra accuracy, so you get 45% accuracy, but you lose a tiny bit of range. But then it is semi-active. You gotta sort of remain on course. I think the one with like the fire and forget is generally going to be more useful, so you're not diving too deep into the enemy lines. The Mirage ones are always really cool. Alright, let's go ahead and put together a quick deck. So, in this division, do I need a fob? I might pop one in anyway, just because it's useful to have in team games. We'll probably go for the Santana, and then something like that, one of each of the types of trucks. Then we've got, I would say if you don't bring this fob, you just bring like 2 of these bigger trucks. For this, I'm probably going to do the lag 40 with the BMP lag. I kind of like that combination. We'll do the C20. I kind of want to rip the recoilless out just because they're kind of fun to use. We'll definitely pop in as many HGMs as we can, at least the decent ones. So we'll bring up the Ito, we'll bring up the Milan 2s. And then I wanted to do the combination here, so we'll do like Salvatore like that. And then we'll want Fusileros C90. Yeah, that's fine. Bring them in the tower. Okay. Actually, we're going to do the BMR ones. It's expensive to bring these in, but in team games, I think you're fine. We do need leaders here, actually, as well. So let's do that. Leader. We can probably get some leaders in the tank tab, so I'm happy with that. I might want to upbet these, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. Alright, artillery. Let's try this rocket out. We'll bring in the big guns. And maybe some mortars might be a good idea. Just for smoke. We'll do something like that. Let's bring in both of those big guns. So we have all 4. That's huge. Okay, tank tab. Definitely just bring in all the M48s. We'll get the Santana Milans. I could bring in a third card of M48s, but I'm not sure. We'll come back to that. Let's try out this Special Forces squad. We'll do them in a helicopter. And then we'll do Jeanette in the BMRs, that's fine. Easy. I think I had this problem with the other Spanish decks where there's so much good stuff that you want. Very difficult to use everything. I kind of want to have this SIGINT in. It's kind of useful in team games. We do like double iHawk up vet. I don't know if I'm even going to upvet them, just because they're so important. Having enough of them is way more important. Get all the twins we can get. We'll chuck that in just because. And then we'll run double Mirage, Cluster, HE. And it looks like that's pretty much it. I think I am going to put the other card of M48s in there, just to make sure that we have enough supports. Alright, well there it is. I don't even know what to call this, we'll call it Guzman El Bueno. I don't know what I called the Spanish one. I called it Corazada Brunet as well. Alright, there we go. Guzman El Bueno. Solid division, honestly. I think I'm going to have to mess around with it a little bit. There's stuff in the Recon tab that I think I want to try, like especially the M47 with the extra optics. So maybe I would like drop the Santana in the infantry tab or something with the M40 recoilless, and then just pop an extra unit in the Recon. But overall, looking good. Like compared to the other Spanish division, where you're quite reliant on the MX-30s, this one is much more reliant on its infantry, and the infantry isn't too bad in this situation. I'm just trying to think, like, is this one just better because it has better AA and stuff? Although I wouldn't say that AA is necessarily that much better. The Recon's more or less the same. The air is a lot better in the Spanish. The Hornets are very nice. Like in the Brunet, I mean. But then again, I don't know how the Mirages perform. Maybe the clusters are super strong. Like if we come out of here and we just have a look at something like, I'm just trying to think what would have a big bomb on it. Like these clusters are normally 12 pen, and you have 4 of them, for example, on this F16. Would 2 at 13 be enough? Maybe not, to get like one-shots on heavies. And then when you're looking at HE bombs, usually the biggest you deal with is something like on a Tornado. You have the 513 kilogram bombs, but we've got 1,000 kilogram bombs. So that's going to be super, super fun. All right, well, yeah. Let me know what you guys think of Guzman El Bueno in the comments, but that is all I have time for today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.